good morning. Good morning. I like that discussion. We're waiting on A&M. LSU will be back. Jason threw those. I know they're not doing what they want to this year with 2 losses, and they're terrible on defense, but they'll get it figured out. LSU has proven it. A&M is not. And LSU won 2 national championships with coaches that are far from, well, they're not great. They're far from good head coaches in Les Miles and, Ed Orgeron. So LSU, they'll be there at some point. I think the questions are Texas A&M. And I tell you another one that I'm just baffled by that is Florida.
Man, Billy Napier, he's 1-7 as Gators head coach on the road against SEC teams. 1-7. He's got to turn it around at some point, right?
Well, it's year 2. You can't keep, he's proven he won it, ULL. And I mean, he won. I guess they're playing at South Carolina. He can't lose that game.
Yeah. It's Gamecocktober.
Talking about a team that's not good. South Carolina is not a good football team. Yeah. South Carolina is a 2-point favorite.
Gamecocktober, baby. It's Shane Beamer's time.
No, it's not. I like Shane. Good guy. But he's on the Sam Pittman train.
Ooh.
It's just a matter of time. He's there, except he's in the East. You get to play Vanderbilt every year, and there's teams like Florida that aren't doing what they're supposed to. Kentucky's beatable, even though they've had some good teams for Kentucky. Missouri's beatable, but they look a little feisty. Florida, I know we're not going to talk too much about this because A&M and Tennessee that's a big game, and Auburn at LSU, that's a big game. I didn't realize they were putting Florida and South Carolina in the same time slot as CBS.
Ooh.
I didn't know the SEC network was doing a 2:30 thing with Florida and South Carolina.
That's bad for ratings.
So the doubleheader for CBS is Georgia at Vandy. Yuck. That line's 31.5. Get you some of that. That'll just be a barn burner. Vanderbilt's even worse than they have been. Now think about that for a second. And then, so your CBS doubleheader is 11 a.m. Georgia and Vandy. The next game CBS could be a heck of a whopper in Jimbo Fisher and A&M against Josh Heupel in Tennessee. But in the same TV window, they've got Florida at South Carolina. Napier can't drop that game. I mean, they couldn't get crazy. They owe him a fortune. They've got to, stay with him. You got to go into Columbia and win. I know South Carolina's not good, but they get crazy at their place. They do. They pack. They used to pack it out when they went 0-11. I mean, they've been packing that stadium for 25 years plus. And then when Lou Holtz won just a little bit, who was it? Was it Brad Scott and Sparky Woods? I think combined for like 5 and 60. I'm embellishing a little bit. Okay? But seriously, they did have an 0-11 season. I don't even know. It may have been Lou. I don't think Lou did it, but maybe his first year, maybe someone handed it off to him. And Lou comes in and starts going to a couple of Outback Bowls. Lou Holtz can coach. I know he says dumb stuff. I almost dropped the. That was the first time. I was a little close there.
It's close.
Let's back up for a second. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Ben Nelson Golf and Outdoors and the Easy Go golf cars, which are great, top of the line, American made, and you just go check out the selection. They're awesome here in Madison and on the Mississippi Gulf Coast and Memphis for your neighborhood, any number of things. But Ben Nelson Golf and Outdoors and the Easy Go Golf Car at Augusta, made in Augusta National. They're right up here in the road in Madison. All right, let me go back to that here. Billy Nate, I know y'all don't keep up with Florida and you don't keep up with South Carolina football. And the only reason why this state watched a little bit of South Carolina football is because Mississippi State went over there a few weeks ago and ended up having a track meet of a game. But you saw how crazy they are. I mean, they're nuts. They love it. And they've been doing that for years. Packing the place, going 3-8 when they used to play 11 games and maybe 5-6, whatever. And then Lou won a little bit, and Steve Spurrier won 11 games 3 years in a row, which is still one of the most accomplished, successful feats in the history of college football.
Wow.
Can you imagine Ole Miss or Mississippi State winning 11 games 3 years in a row?
No.
Right.
Not close.
And I understand they were in the East, but still, that's damn impressive. But Florida at South Carolina, Billy Napier doesn't want to walk down that plank. They need to get a win and get out of there. And Jason just shared with us that Napier's 1-7 on the road.
1-7 on the road. And also, so as Florida head coach, he's now 10-9 after beating Vanderbilt last weekend. So he's 10-9 as Florida head coach.
Okay.
And his buyout is $31 million.
I knew it was big.
I mean, in 2021, he signed a 7-year, $51 million.
Okay. I read that. Was it Staples' article, Andy Staples' article? And so I knew the buyout was ginormous.
I mean, geez. He's got to do something now.
So they're not, I don't think they back up the truck like that. $31 million, that's crazy. But he does need to win that game. He's still got Georgia. And, he's got a week off. Then he's got Georgia. Arkansas at home could be a nice recipe for success. At LSU, not so much.
Ooh.
At Missouri, not so much. And Florida State at home. Goodness gracious, he's going to have to find some W's. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're going to have Brad Logan on at 9:40. Ole Miss Insider. Brad Logan will stop by. And Jason was not happy with the news today, as he shouldn't be. He's a good player. Jordan Watkins is out for some time. He's a wide receiver. He's not your best wide receiver, but he is a nice to good SEC wide receiver.
He's the most consistent out of everybody because he hasn't gotten injured this year.
Well, yeah,
and
because Harris has missed time because of an injury. Okay,
right.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, more consistent than Dayton Wade wasn't a star last year. He's shown flashes this year.
He's just a solid SEC player.
Yeah, but he's the most consistent receiver.
Lane elevates these guys, but yeah, I mean, Dayton Wade's a nice player.
Just like Dontario Drummond.
Drummond's a different. That's a different skill set than Dayton Wade. Drummond hung around he may be on an NFL roster, but he was on the practice. That's a different deal.
Okay.
So Wade is a nice player who Lane gets the most out of, which that's great. Good for Wade, good for Lane. Lane's offense elevates Wade.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Lane's offense elevated Matt Corral and Jackson Dart.
And a lot of people.
Dontario Drummond, you're skewed because you're an Ole Miss fan because you've had AJ and all these great players come through. Drummond is a hell of a football player.
Oh, he was fantastic.
He was a legit, he wasn't elite because that's hard to be in our league. He's not AJ Brown. He's not some of these dudes that go through LSU, so on. But Dontario Drummond can ball.
Yeah.
He had speed, catches the ball, yards after catch. He's a damn good football player.
I just mean that Kiffin made him better.
No question.
Yeah, like Kiffin's play calling and his style, that's
No question.
Dontario Drummond's style. Like Dayton Wade fits perfectly in that offense.
You are, yeah. He's probably I'll go with that. All right, Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Brought to you by Havana Smoke Shop. Ooh, what a weather's changed. you may want a Fuente or Rocky Patel cigar. And, you know what I had? I stopped at Havana Smoke Shop at the Res, and I grabbed an H. Upman Petite Corona. It was a Cameroon and classic. It was delicious. So they've got a wonderful selection of cigars at Havana Smoke Shop across from the Reservoir and I-55 North in Jackson. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're also driven by your next Nissan Pathfinder at Cannon Nissan in Jackson and the Nissan Rogue. Go see my guys at Cannon Nissan in Jackson. You know, the Pathfinder has a new body style. Test drove one. It's beautiful. You'll love it. Pathfinder Rogue, Cannon Nissan in Jackson. We're going to go to, I think, somewhere in North Mississippi. Welcome in Brad Logan, Ole Miss Insider. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Brad Logan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Tell me what's going on with Jordan Watkins, wide receiver at Ole Miss.
Yeah, yesterday morning, Jared Reddick of Inside the Rebels broke the story that there was a serious hand injury. I'll allow the listeners and you and everyone else, we didn't get anything else other than a serious hand injury. So there have been other reports that the hand is actually broken. If that's the case, Bo, you have followed football long enough to know that that's 3 to 5 weeks. So you're looking at a possible regular season ending. Maybe come back by Monroe, maybe come back by Mississippi State. Definitely a chance to come back by a bowl game. But, look, that was big news. And, you talk about, things that have to happen in the second half of the season. Jordan Watkins was part of that plan. He's the leading receiver, 36 receptions on the year. The closest one to him is Dayton Wade at 27, averaging 14.5 yards a catch. And he is, without question, Jackson Dart's go-to receiver. He's a possession receiver. He runs crisp routes. He can get separation. But the best thing he can do is he doesn't drop the ball. And so now you have to ask yourself who is going to step up. But, yeah, that was tough news for Ole Miss to get yesterday about the injury to Watkins.
Dang. Okay, so I figure Harris gets totally healthy in the off week. You got Wade. Who Prescorn will get healthy, different position, but he's a pass catcher.
Right.
Then Franklin, we're still kind of are we still wait and see here? What's happening, Brad?
Well, with Franklin, this past Saturday against Arkansas, he basically said, he's still dealing with a knee and just told the staff that he couldn't go. He's played in 2 games. He's only got 2 catches. And we expected to see him come in and contribute a lot more than he has. There are other players that Ole Miss are going to have to step up in these positions. That's Caden Lee, he's a freshman out of Georgia. He's only got 1 catch, but he's played in 4 games. We've seen him block pretty well. A guy that we haven't seen this year very much, only played in 1 game, that's Braylon Brown. He's a name that we've called a lot, and just has not, done some things that we thought he would be able to do. J.J. Henry is someone that we expected to make some strides this year. Jalen Knox, the transfer out of Missouri, had a great spring, played in 5 games, but just wasn't seeing the field much, so they moved him to safety. The fly in the ointment here, Bo, I think, is Aiden Williams. He is a talented freshman, as your audience knows well, out of Ridgeland High School, played in 5 games, only has 3 catches. Saw him earlier in the year make some plays, but ever since that Tulane game, he had a mix-up with quarterback Jackson Dart. We haven't seen Aiden Williams a lot. I think we'll probably see him a lot more now with the absence of Jordan Watkins, but it's absolutely a blow to this offense. I think you'll see Dayton Wade become much more of a go-to guy, more than we have seen him now. He's easily number 2 in the clubhouse with 27 catches. He's someone that Jackson Dart likes to go to. And you mentioned Caden Prescorn. I wanted to mention this as well for maybe the folks that hadn't heard. He's back home. His dad passed away. And so he's dealing with that this week. So, when Lane Kiffin said that the bye week would come at a good time, I don't think anyone expected so many things to happen. And it definitely is a good week with the loss in Caden's family, with the injury to Jordan Watkins to kind of revisit some things offensively, what you can do. And then Jackson Dart, though, he was limping in the postgame. Lane Kiffin made mention in the press conference that he was hurt in the second play of the game. And it's nothing new. This is not a new injury. this is something that's kind of been part of this season he's been dealing with. So, but should be good to go. I mean, I don't think there's any issues with Dart, but there definitely is issues with Jordan Watkins. That was the news that broke yesterday.
Okay. Brad Logan inside the Rebels on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And Jordan Watkins broke his hand. Well, we think. His injury was sustained in practice. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, it was sustained in practice, and it actually happened yesterday morning. And like I said, Jared Redding reporting that it was a serious hand issue, nothing further. But obviously time is going to be missed. But, I mean, we could speculate. There are other reports out there that actually was broken. We don't have that verified. So, but nonetheless, we do expect to miss some games regardless of the situation.
Okay. So what are you doing this weekend? You don't have a game. You just going to watch ball?
I'm watching football. In fact, we did our post-game show after Ole Miss Arkansas, and I jokingly said this Ole Miss fan base probably needs a break as well. So you got Ole Miss and Mississippi State allowing themselves to prop up, throw a rack of ribs on, and crank things up at 11 o'clock. And even though Dion is not happy with his kickoff at 8 p.m., we are. So we'll have football from 11 a.m. Central here in Mississippi all the way up until 1 a.m. in the morning. So there are worse things to do on a Saturday than watch a ton of college football.
And I know that you'll be locked into Auburn at LSU
yes.
because Ole Miss pulls Auburn at Auburn the next week.
Yes, and actually David Johnson and I of Inside the Rebels will do a post-game podcast and focus in on that Auburn-LSU game to get the Rebel fans, give them a little bit of idea of what they've got coming with Auburn. And Bo, I know you'll have wall-to-wall coverage next week with a ton of stuff going on surrounding that Ole Miss back at Auburn against Hugh Freeze, and Auburn's kind of down. What are they going to do offensively? But I can guarantee you this: he will have a game plan together, and he's going to scheme the heck out of Ole Miss, and then Ole Miss is going to try to scheme the heck out of him. And a lot of variables with that game, a lot of layers to peel back the onion, so to speak. And here we are again, Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze back in the conversation again. It's just never going to go away.
It's incredible. It's juicy. I mean, it's a 24-ounce ribeye for the two of us. But it is crazy that here we go again. Freeze playing Ole Miss and at Auburn. So they had their week off last weekend, Brad, as you know, and I guess maybe they got as healthy as you can get, and then they'll play LSU. I've never seen an LSU defense this bad. Or maybe I had to go back to like Jerry DiNardo or something. Brad, can you remember?
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen one as poor as this one, but the thing about it is you look at it, and I looked at some odds that company that sponsors Bet Online, and they sent me some odds, and LSU is a still very decent favorite to win the West. So they've got a lot of things ahead of them. I mean, people are kind of burying LSU, but I get the defense, I get all that, but they're elite on offense. Elite with Jaden Daniels, and them elite neighbors. He can play. Brian Thomas Jr. They're really good, and they survived over in Columbia this past Saturday. It was a fun game to watch. LSU's a fun team to watch, but yeah, I mean they've got their season ahead of them. I mean, sure they have losses. One loss in the SEC, that one loss to who I think Florida State very well could win the national championship. So they've got everything in front of them. If they can beat Alabama, and they've got some wins ahead of them, and I'll be interested just to see how Auburn responds. If LSU really comes out and pops them,
right,
and, beats them handily, what Auburn team will be, ready next Saturday to Jordan Hare? What's the fans going to be like? What is that atmosphere going to be like? It's normally pretty raucous, and I expect a good crowd. But, I don't think, Ole Miss has proven they can go into raucous crowds and do well. They did so a couple of years in Starkville. A couple of years ago in Tennessee, they did well. So they can go in and play in those environments. And I do think it will be crazy at Jordan Hare being a night game. And the question I'm interested to see more than anything is what Auburn team is Ole Miss going to get. And I think we'll learn a lot on Saturday.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you, man. Bentley is this guy didn't get the touches last year because of Quinshawn and Evans. I know Quinshawn's still good, but Bentley looks like the more explosive back right now for the team.
Yeah, I mean, I've had different people in the media tell me they think he's better suited for this offense than Judkins is, and I'm not sure I agree with that, but I do think, to your point, he didn't get a lot of carries last year because of those two in front of him, but he also didn't get a lot of carries because he was injured. And he was injured almost the whole year.
Okay.
Going into the fall camp, everybody's like, what's going on with Bentley? I mean, is he going to be healthy? And then he tweets something in the first week, and he's like, I don't know if he's ever going to make it. Boy, were we wrong. He has really came onto the scene. I think he's starting to feel his way with this offensive line. I think he likes this offensive line a lot. He runs hard behind them. And we saw him almost get stronger as the game went on. He had that 34-yard run in the fourth quarter against Arkansas. And it really felt like, Bo, that he was catching another gear. And we asked Quinshon Judkins at the end of the game, the press conference, and he kind of smiled and said, he's playing well. And I think you can get that 1-2 punch that Ole Miss had with Quinshon and Zach Evans last year. And I think, Zach Evans was good. I mean, he was explosive. But the way that Ulysses Bentley is running now, I think it's a little bit tick above what we saw with Zach Evans last year. Only 278 yards on the ground for Bentley, but most of that has come over the last couple of games.
Yeah.
And, he's looking really good in this offense. And, we were talking about the schedule, how it sets up for Ole Miss. If you can get past Auburn, you got a very poor Vanderbilt team coming in. That sets up with a really big game against Texas A&M on campus. Now, you're really hoping Alabama loses a couple of games if you're Ole Miss because you're going to have to backdoor your way into Atlanta. But if Alabama possibly loses a couple of games and you can run the table and, who knows about Georgia, it's probably not a game Ole Miss is going to win, but at least you'll get a free shot over in Athens. And then who knows with the egg roll. So, a lot of things out in front of Ole Miss right now, but you have to take care of business on the road. And what I like to say, survive and advance like they did against Arkansas. They were better than Arkansas, but Arkansas put up a pretty good fight, turned the ball over twice, and that's what caused, I think, Arkansas to lose the game. See what happens at Auburn. What are they going to do offensively? I understand the schematics of Kiffin. I do think he's going to scheme well. The problem is he's going to have the athletes to do that. And we'll see. Well, I'm interested to see, like I said, I can't say it enough. How are they going to play at LSU? Are they going to play inspired football? Because I feel like LSU will at home, night game. If we get an LSU team, an Auburn team that goes to the end and fights to the end, we're going to have ourselves a war in a couple of weeks over at Auburn. Are
you going to go to that game?
Yes.
Nice.
So it's a great environment. It's fun to see the Eagle, and it's a really fun place to go. It's a fun town, and any type of road trips, hey, I'm all in. And so it's a big one for Ole Miss without question. And I think the juiciness you call it, I think that's pretty good. Hugh Freeze versus Ole Miss.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a week. Brad Logan, thanks, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Always a pleasure, bro.
Inside the Rebels, Brad Logan on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Jordan Watkins is out for a few weeks. You can take it from there. They, haven't confirmed exactly what it is, but 3 to 5 weeks, so we'll just land on a month. And that's not good because, well, he's a hell of a football player. And Brad said he's the most dependable as far as with his hands and catching the football with Jackson Dart. If you missed any of the show, we'd love for you to go to Apple Podcast or Spotify and search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. Apple Podcast or Spotify. Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. Football Friday tomorrow.